All right, YouTube. So the video down below is from a person called Jack Green. He's reading passages from a book titled Imperium, the History and Philosophy of Politics, I believe is the name of the book. And it's written by a person called Francis Parker Yockey, who was a nationalist of some kinds and a white well-being advocate. At least that's my interpretation of him. And this video is so interesting. Not this one, but the one that the guy did. I think that it's so interesting. I really want to make sure I get this right. So he's talking about how the sense of white nationalism has always been present within the United States since its inception. Like I continue to opine, and I believe that this is based on facts or backed up by facts, that this country was founded by a white Protestant contingency fleeing from Britain, basically, saying, well, we don't want to be a part of this tyrannical British government where we're, getting taxed up the ass. We don't want to be a part of this, and we actually want to go find our own country and, celebrate freedom in a lot of ways and find the new concept of liberty, which they successfully did. So this has always been present, white nationalism, white pride, all this stuff. I think it's always been existent ever since the Roman times, if not earlier. And so this has always been something that has been highly targeted, too, by the globalists. The globalists, for whatever reason, don't like the white man. White man bad. And there's a bunch of theories behind that. I think part of the reason is just jealousy, envy. It's like they really don't like us because like we're pretty much, we're good at a lot of shit, and who fucking cares? Anyways, let them wallow in their own envy. But there has been many efforts to try and politicize this movement, and on both ends. So there's been efforts to get these philosophies propped up by the government and have these types of advocates placed in government to advocate for white well-being. And then there's been, of course, the reciprocal, where these globalists are saying, well, no, that's not, that's racist, you're xenophobic. And it's the same shit. It's been happening over and over for hundreds of years, it seems like. And they were talking about, or the guy, Jack Green, was reading from Imperium. He was saying that, this is the way I interpreted it, that these movements were actually getting very strong from about the earliest 20th century to the tail end of the World War II. And because of these wars, that almost stifled their movement. And it's because these two political powers that were fighting against each other didn't really care about that. They disregarded white nationalism and everything. They were more concerned about interventionism. So that kind of stifled the conversation, as well as them, going after, deciding to throw their hat in the race, when it came to defeating Hitler and all this stuff. And where am I going with this? Anyways, so they have tried dearly, but they've always had the inconvenience of world wars popping up. And for me, I earlier in my life, I was kind of convinced in school, how they teach you. They say like, hey, look, we defeated the Nazis. We defeated the evil Kaiser in World War I. And this is the way they brainwash you. They just try and paint them as the faceless enemy. They don't really give you any other details. So I was like, yeah, okay, that's cool. We defeated the bad guys. We're the good guys, obviously. Which I'm not saying that the United States is not does not have a lot of good people. It clearly does. They're some of the best people on earth, in my opinion. It's just that the government has done some really shitty things and hasn't really acted in the interest of the American people. More specifically, like I said, the white Protestant contingency that founded this country in the first place. I believe that is backed up by facts. So these movements, like I kind of go in circles here. I apologize, but these movements have been stifled by global events. And it was very inconvenient, especially in World War II, when Hitler was demonized by the whole world. His philosophies and everything. If you look at it objectively, Hitler was basically an anti-globalist. He was a nationalist. I'm still pretty. If someone could elaborate in the comments section, I still think that Hitler had some globalist tendencies. Invading Poland and pushing onward into Russia and everything. Not that I like Russia or anything, but which is something I perceive to be globalist. Like, there's always going to be globalism or globalist aspects about, certain governments. So be it. Anyways, please fact check me on that. I highly recommend my viewers always fact check me when I say this kind of thing. So he was talking about, regardless of all these movements that have happened, the want for nationalism or white nationalism has always been present within the United States since its inception. And it's going to come to a point where we will reach civil war eventually, where the rich and the poor are pinned against each other, where it's the blacks and the whites and the Hispanics, the Jews, the Asians are all pinned up against each other just because of, the tribalism, which I agree with. I think that tribalism is something that we shouldn't, put by the wayside. It's something that's kind of ingrained into our DNA, It's the reason why we go and seek out women of the same skin color to fuck. We don't look. I'm not a guy that particularly likes women of the darker skin variant. I'm more of a. I like white women. Send me the fuck to hell, I guess. Anyways, but that's just the way it is. That's just tribalism, and what's going to happen is, like Francis Parker Yockey mentions, is that civil war is inevitable, and this is the way I interpreted it. In closing, just because I feel like I'm butchering this. He said that, yes, civil war is inevitable. We're going to have to band together, but the best way to do that is if we take political power. So this is I don't even want to call this a compromise. I would just say this is looking at both ways, both angles, or looking from both angles, that while civil war is probably the less desirable option, it's inevitable, and the best way for us to be put in the best position, if that makes sense, is to take political power, is to have a government that represents white people, that represents Protestants, that represents Christians, represents Catholics, represents even pagans to some degree. I mean, I would probably say that more whites are pagans nowadays. I could be wrong about that. Please, fact check me. And I really like this approach. I think this is something that is probably going to happen. I mean, civil war is already happening. It's pretty obvious. I mean, in a very passive aggressive fashion. I mean, you see it every single day in the media, the way they're demonizing white people. Anywhere from the Covington Catholic episode, which is just a total disgrace when it comes to media reporting, because you have all this allow me to vent for a second. You have all these resources on the internet that contradict the official story put out by the legacy media and Nathan Phillips, that lying little sack of slime, coming out and saying, yeah, these boys attacked me and I went in the corner and I prayed for them, like trying to take the high road. It's a little too late for that, buddy. People already know you're a liar. And you go on TMZ and you're talking about how, oh, my buddy Steven, referring to Stephen Colbert, oh, he posts Trump tweets and that's the only way I read them. That's the only way I can handle it. This guy is such a little slimy worm. Anyways, Covington Catholic, the Jussie Smollett incident, which is being debunked even more and more every single day. The BuzzFeed story. I mean, that's, They're harassing the president, who's a white man. This is the reason why I believe Trump was placed in power, so whenever anything goes wrong, they can blame the white man, which is President Trump. That's my official theory here. We're seeing it every single day, that there is a war on white people. And send me the crap to hell for pointing this out. And even non-whites are noticing this, and thank God, bless their hearts. Jesse Lee Peterson coming out and saying, yeah, there clearly is there's something fishy going on against these white people, and he's a great guy, Jesse Lee Peterson. And he can even teach white men a lot of stuff. Teaching them how to be a man and everything. I love that about him. Anyways, we're seeing it. We're seeing that there's civil war in. I guess it's in the infantile stages now, but we're still nonetheless seeing it. So it's time for us to put up or shut up. I like No White Guilt's position. He says that, look, we're going to have to get into political power before we can even think about talking about civil war. And I totally agree. But what I'm, and I totally agree. What I'm afraid of, and I hope, dear to God, that I am proven wrong, I just think one day there's going to be a false flag where a white man is involved, where the internet's persuasion is not enough, where where we can't debunk it that easily because it's such a catastrophic event that it initially triggers martial law. They start coming door to door. They start taking our guns. They start basically throwing white people in prison because the person who did it was a white man. This is what No White Guilt has hypothesized. He basically said, yeah, if there's a major terrorist attack that is triggered by a white man, we can just say goodbye to our chances of ever taking back this nation. And I totally agree. I think that's something to really consider. I have to go with my animal instincts and say, well, until then, I'm going to defend myself if anything happens here in my humble abode. Just saying. All right, guys, if I missed any points, please leave me a comment down below. And once again, check out the video down below. It's from a person called Jack Green. Very well-read individual. He's reading excerpts from the book. I believe it's called Imperium, the History and Philosophy of Politics, from Francis Parker Yockey, who is a gentleman that I am very fascinated in so far. I'm very curious to see what else he's got to say regarding white nationalism and all this stuff. Yeah, because it's high time that we start talking about it, at least, and it's bullshit. I understand that you can get flagged or whatever, or shadow banned because of hate speech or whatever. But I just say suck it up. That's what I'm doing. I have nothing to lose on this YouTube channel. Like, I don't have like any kind of monetary deals or monetization, so I really don't give a shit about that. I'm here to speak my mind and have my viewers, which I'm very grateful for. They send me great things every single day. They send me some very wonderful things. Some things I'm not willing to touch, but I'll come around. Don't worry, guys. And we're just going to keep fighting. And there's really nothing that the globalists or anybody else can do about it. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I will see you later.